Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a wonderful day. As always, leaving a like, leaving a comment, or subscribing. All of these things do help out the channel immensely. Welcome back to another News I Missed, where I go over news I missed. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Boston-based payments technology company Circle announced on Thursday that it intends to issue a euro-backed stablecoin dubbed Eurocoin. The new crypto, I would never know what that is. The new cryptocurrency will become available for customers in late June under the EUROC ticker. Initially, the token will be available only on the Ethereum blockchain, but it is expected to launch on other platforms later on this year. The regulated stablecoin is fully backed by a reserve of assets held by Silvergate Bank and other American financial institutions, according to the announcement. CEO Jeremy Allaire has said that the company has responded to growing demand for euro-backed cryptocurrencies with the announcement of the new product. The crypto finance company launched its dollar-backed stablecoin back in September of 2018. The USDC has been pitched as a safer alternative to Tether, which some critics believe is not transparent enough. Tether has been overly transparent, if anything, because people won't stop talking about them. And the only people who are saying that their versions are safer are the other people who made other stablecoins that are not Tether. Of course, your product is going to be safer than your actual competitor. That's just how it always ends up working out. In May, Tether briefly lost its parity with the US dollar amidst the Terra Luna mayhem, while its key rival did not flinch. I'm pretty sure all stablecoins lost their peg for a couple of minutes, but alas, bringing it on back. The timing of this news I find interesting. Why? Because for some reason, even now, tons of stablecoins are losing their pegs, and we're getting a lot of it. Not saying that this is correlated directly. It's more of a, the timing of this seems interesting. With many other companies now announcing that they're making new stablecoins, or other countries talking about making their own stablecoins. Once again, not central bank digital currencies, but literal stable coins that their banks are also proposing to also release. And therefore, these will be the safest ones because they're from the bank and from the old system. And therefore, it just has to be absolutely amazing. The other part being, for reasons unknown, this was one of the most popular news stories when it was released. I understand that it is good for people who are traders in the cryptocurrency space. I was screamed at by many a person in the comment section over the years when I said that we explicitly did not have a direct need for stable coins, and apparently my channel just is for people who are trading cryptocurrencies, because everyone was like, I use Tether because I need to stabilize my monies and all this other stuff. So I was a little shocked when news about the launch of a euro-based stablecoin was released, and everyone completely lost their minds over this news. But once again, whenever we get actual that entire country over there is actually adopting Bitcoin as legal tender, and it gets like 2 news stories, and this one had like 15 different tabs. I only have 3 up here for the sake of, it's just a euro stable coin that is being released. But apparently this is what gets some engines going. A lot of people were apparently hankering for some euro spankering, and this is what we get from it. So yeah, in one of the most popular news stories of the last couple of days, wish I was joking. Circle is going to be releasing a euro stable coin, and that is basically what the news is. So tell me if this made you happy, or if you find a direct correlation to happiness with this. Like, will this change your life because you can now trade in euros as opposed to just in dollars? Or Am I missing something? I probably am. That's the Boston-based payments company Circle is announcing that they're going to be releasing a euro-backed stablecoin sometime in the very near future, while other stablecoins continue to depeg and governments say that they still hate us. News. And yeah, let's move on. Also, oh my gosh, this was also extremely popular news. Panama's president, Laurentino Cortizo, has partially rejected the crypto bill proposed by the country's parliament after stalling for weeks, citing absence of anti-money laundering rules and a lack of insufficient information on his part then. Before we dig a little bit deeper, the most interesting thing to talk about here is that a lot of other countries in Latin American countries, there we go, have begun to release cryptocurrency bills. The most popular one, of course, being El Salvador, who announced that Bitcoin is now legal tender. But there's also been Brazil, I think Argentina, I think Colombia is also coming up with something as well. And the idea is, especially for those of you who missed it, there was a meeting between the El Salvadorian president and members, I believe banking members and Federal Reserve members from 44 different other countries. And they were basically there to talk about adopting Bitcoin. So the legend goes. Apparently they went there to learn more about it, but I would assume, especially if you look at the list of the 44 countries, these are countries who have been put down under from U.S. regulations and sanctions, and probably were looking for another alternative to be able to be economically sovereign when they haven't been able to do so since around the 1950s. Backing it on up, Panama was for some reason thrown out there by the cryptocurrency space as a place that was going to also be extremely friendly to crypto. I'm not sure if it's because of their geographical region or if there was actually some chatter behind the scenes of what was going on. They were meant to be allegedly along the lines of Puerto Rico, also Portugal, a little sprinkle of Germany as far as like being very tax efficient, 0% and or near 0% taxes, basically another haven or hub for people to be able to go and do their digital bidding by themselves without having, the country having to overlook them. I believe, here we go, that at some point, someone probably had a discussion with the president of Panama, because we received news, don't forget this, I think a day after El Salvador accepted Bitcoin as legal tender within their country. I believe the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, and I believe some people, it was like 3 or 4 people from the United States all came out in opposition of it. And I think a couple of them were rumored to have also flown to El Salvador to basically wag their finger at them in a monetary sense. I'm sure they were saying not so nice words to them for doing that. The idea being is that countries are seemingly further and further getting away from the US dollar. And in order to prevent that from happening, you kind of have to, de-incentivize them with more than finger wagging to tell them, hey, you should not do that. So a while ago, when we had news that this was going to apparently happen, it always has to go through multiple stages. It gets written by someone, then it goes to this level of parliament, and then it goes to that person, then it goes to so-and-so, then it goes to the lower house, and then it finally goes somewhere else, and finally the president gets to sign it. 2 steps before, we had news that the president of Panama was already the word's not itchy, but jittery about it. And all he kept on mentioning was anti-money laundering, AML, over and over and over again. And that tells me that someone behind the scenes told him, make sure that this bill is as tight as possible. You can accept it in your country, not as legal tender, but, as legal. But don't do what El Salvador did. This is at least what it feels like, because the president keeps mentioning that the bill's not right, the bill's not right, the bill's not right. And, something is a little bit off there. Gabriel Silva, congressman in the National Assembly of Panama, in a recent tweet, revealed the Panamanian president's decision to partially veto the bill passed by the National Assembly 2 months back. According to Silva, the National Assembly is currently studying the bill to make corrections in sections that appear unsatisfactory. They said, the discussion must now go to the Government Commission to see what is unconstitutional and to the Trade Commission what is inconvenient. The bill to regulate digital assets and make them a medium of payment within the country was approved by the Panamanian National Assembly 2 months ago after passing a third debate, and that was left. All that was left was the president's signature. The bill was meant to develop the crypto industry in the country to attract more investments and generate more employment. This usually means to have very low taxes to make sure that people come to your country. It's usually like the very warm countries that tend to have the most favorable bills 9 out of 10 times. And it works. People definitely go there. And I mentioned to all of you before, one of the really interesting, it's not a mind trick kind of, that tends to happen. Like if you go to Puerto Rico, if you go to somewhere in the Bahamas, if you go somewhere in Dubai, which I believe also has a 0% tax on income and stuff like that. The extra money that people make, they go, okay, I save this on taxes, but I also want to invest it. Where should I invest it? And they tend to sometimes reinvest it directly back in the country that they're in. I saw a documentary on it. Super fascinating. If you've never seen a documentary about people living in Dubai, it is interesting because of the way that the country is currently being built, who's building it. Look into that as well. And also just the way that life is kind of lived. It's like a bubble within a bubble within a bubble within a bubble within a very rich diamond encrusted bubble. But a lot of the people who do move there was one guy, I think he said, he got a new job. He was from the UK. I think he was making roughly around 110,000 per year, something like that. He figured out that if he moved a little bit outside of the center of Dubai, his rent decreased dramatically because he wasn't like in the center of all of it, but it was still absolutely beautiful and gorgeous and brand new. You know how Dubai looks. The extra money that he made at the end of the year that would have gone to taxes, he was like, oh, I found that I could actually buy 2 studio apartments here. And he's like, I'm probably going to do that for the next 15, 20 years. And I'm actually living here. So this is kind of the idea. It's the same thing that's happening in many other countries, especially like Portugal and, you know, what have you. The money that people make, they go, well, I can't just have it sitting in my bank account. It's kind of pointless. Let me buy an investment. I'm already in a very pretty country. Why not buy property in Panama? That's kind of the idea. According to Silva, the crypto bill would see Panama follow in the footsteps of its Latin American neighbor El Salvador. However, unlike El Salvador, Panama's bill doesn't make crypto legal tender. So this will eventually get passed. I can only imagine what the discussions were had. I love that there's like a hand behind a whole bunch of paper just saying no. That's a great photo. This will eventually get passed. I'm pretty sure that other countries are also doing the exact same thing. There might be a bit of a slowdown or maybe even a ramp up in like regulation now that prices are down is the nice word for it. But yeah, this was also major news. A lot of people, I think, were quite shocked that he said no immediately to this. But I mean, we could have imagined that a couple of weeks ago when every single time there were indications or people talking to him, he seemed a bit jittery about where the bill was going to go. So I wonder exactly what has to be put in place. Because also, for those of you who missed it about a year ago, the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, announced a while ago that they want all countries to be on the exact same page when it comes to moving around crypto. Because once again, the idea of a blockchain or something that people would have control over and being able to use at any given time on their own free will, for some reason, is absolutely terrible to many countries, or to the FATF, to the BIS, or the IMF. Yeah, so I'm sure they'll get it together at some point, but as of right now, the bill has gotten a nay, at least partially. If they make it too restrictive, no one will go to their country. That's just kind of the realistic view of it, though. Like, if you make it too crazy, and I see that there's 7 other countries that are, you know, a lot more attractive than yours, why would I even think of setting foot on your property? Anyway, that's the Panama crypto bill news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in the news, Government officials in Kazakhstan have approved regulations that will govern interactions between authorized coin trading platforms and traditional financial institutions. The new rules will allow registered cryptocurrency exchanges to have bank accounts within the country. And I know that sounds like the most unimportant thing in the entire world. In 2016, 2017, I'm going to tell you a tale of old. We lived in a time where if you had a bank account, you yourself are not even a cryptocurrency exchange. You have a bank account and you go onto a little website called Coinbase and you click buy. Your account would have been frozen and or closed. This was so normal back in 2017, and this was the reason why we have a number of what you would call cryptocurrency banks. They don't get a lot of press and news anymore because the banking system has opened themselves up to crypto, understanding that they themselves will not be around for that much longer if they don't integrate the new system. But this was fairly common. A lot of crypto exchanges, Coinbase, Kraken, you name it, had difficulties even finding banks who would do business with them. A lot of the banks who they were doing business with were like, we are shutting down your account because you're doing something fraudulent, because I'm not joking, because we heard on TV that Bitcoin is evil and therefore we cannot do business with you. This was a very, very common thing. There were tons of people who had bank accounts that had $180,000, $349,000, $267,000 inside of it. They decided to throw a couple $100 into crypto, and because the bank could see where that transaction went, their accounts were closed. This was a major, major thing. It doesn't seem, once again, like I said, time has moved forward. It doesn't seem as important now, but this was insane to think about a couple of years ago. If you found a bank that actually wanted to work with you, you had the hope that they wouldn't backtrack because tons of US banks were also backtracking. This is why I think that one of the most popular news stories back then is that the people from Litecoin were actually trying to buy their own bank. And I think they bought 10% of a bank, and many other crypto companies were also forming their own banks. This is why sometimes you hear in the news that there's a solely digital bank, or sometimes they'll call them a crypto bank. You know, they deal in crypto, but they also have a banking license. And this is why you might remember the news in the past in general. History is always so important. Why Coinbase, and I believe Kraken as well, and I think even Gemini, I think they all have banking licenses, and they were kind of referred to as the brand new banks around 2019 because they basically had all the paperwork that they needed to be a bank, but they were still dealing in crypto. And this is where a lot of them also became FDIC insured, and so many. It's so absolutely insane to even like a sentence like that. Allowing a crypto exchange to have a bank account is insane because before it just could not be done. They would not allow us to like expand as an industry. Regulations allowing crypto exchanges registered at the Astana International Finance Center, or AIFC, that's it, to be serviced by second-tier banks in Kazakhstan has been adopted by a working group comprised of representatives of the Ministry of Digital Development, the central bank, financial regulators, as well as members of the financial and digital asset sectors, the ministry has announced. The initiative is part of a project aimed at introducing a regulatory framework that will facilitate the development of Kazakhstan's potential as a regional crypto hub. It will be implemented as a pilot throughout 2022 with the participation of crypto trading platforms licensed by the AIFC, the Financial Services Authority, the AFSA. A press release has detailed. Kazakhstan attracted cryptocurrency. People, don't forget about this as well. This is why I think they decided to have their cryptocurrency regulations come out. When China cracked down on crypto once again and banned crypto mining within their country, Kazakhstan was like, here. They raised their hands immediately, and a number of people, the news that we got, simply packed up their machines and moved them across the border into Kazakhstan, who I assume realize the immense amount of money that they can make. It's just about, we're not asking, I'm not, I know many of the people in crypto are, asking for the world. It's more of a, just let us exist. I think the idea is that they know that the old system is old and clunky and clanky and from the 1970s and is absolutely deplorable. So this new system is so much more efficient. If you haven't seen the last video, I definitely tell you to please go watch that one as well, because it is quite fascinating. But yeah, this of course was not major news. I mean, it was relatively popular, and people weren't like clamoring like, "Oh my gosh, Kazakhstan" in the news. But this is incredibly important. Every single time that a new country steps up and doesn't say the word ban and simply goes, "We will give you regulations," like we ask for nothing more. You don't like us, you're going to regulate us. Simply regulate us in the way that you do the old system. If the old system has those rules, why not give us the exact same ones? So, yeah, I hope it works out for them. I hope that there's no backtracking. But I think at this point, we know that banks are explicitly into the cryptocurrency space. So I would assume in many different countries and places around the world, you simply probably no more than have to have a conversation with someone from Fidelity or someone from some high-end corporation, entity, or bank, and they can kind of point you in the right direction of a bank who will definitely do business with you. Because at this point, it's kind of like, why not? Like, why would you not want extra money? At least that's how I view it. That's the Kazakhstan crypto exchanges, open accounts with local banks news. And yeah. Let's move on. Right. I am still away. I hope that you are all enjoying your lives. I do hope that you all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, and or supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.